Hi, in this video I'm going to be tying a Guide's Choice Hare's ear in size 16. This is a very good all-around fly that seems to catch trout wherever you take it. This fly always has a spot in my fly box. For the materials for this fly, I'm going to be tying this on a TMC 3761 in size 16. For this size I'm going to be using a 3/32 gold bead, and I'm going to be using .015 lead for the underwraps. For thread, I'm going to be using 70 denier fluorescent fire orange ultra thread. For my rib, I'm going to be using gold wire in the brassy size. For the tail, I'm going to be using guard hairs from a hare's mask. For the abdomen, I'm going to be using natural hare's ear dubbing. For the wing case, I'll be using large pearl tinsel. For the thorax, I'll be using peacock curl, and for the soft tackle, I'll be using Hungarian partridge. To start, make your lead underwraps, and then seat them up into the bead. For this one here, I try to make the lead underwraps come back to about the length of the thorax. Next, start your thread and trim away the tag end. Then build up some wraps behind the lead and over the lead just to hold it in place. Next, tie in your ribbing. I'm going to be tying it in on the far side of the hook here. And then take thread wraps back to where you want the end of the body of the fly to be. On a lot of my flies that I tie on a straight shank hook, I like to take it back right to where the barb is. For the tailing, grab a clump of fur from the hare's mask and snip it away. From there, hold the tips firmly in one hand and use the other hand to remove the short undercoat hairs from the clump. Next, to tie in the tailing, measure it out so that it's about a hook shank's length, and then make a few looser wraps. Then stop and check that you like the length. If you like it, make firm wraps up the shank of the hook to secure it down. Stop right before you get to the lead and trim the ends so that the cut ends stop right near the lead. From there, build up a slight taper to the body and take your thread to the end of the body. Next, I apply a little dubbing wax, which I prefer to use for this kind of dubbing. Then, apply the dubbing to the thread and form it into a dubbing noodle. Then make wraps up the hook to cover the abdomen section. Next, take and make forward spiral wraps up the abdomen with your ribbon. Next, secure in the ribbing by making wraps behind it and in front of the ribbing. Then spin it off. From there, take a piece of flat pearl tinsel and tie it in. Then, take a couple of peacock curls, trim away the brittle top inch or so of them, and then tie them in and take the thread back to where you want the thorax to start. From there, make forward wraps with the peacock curl going behind the thread of the bobbin so that it carries the thread with the wraps. When you get to the bead, tie the herl down, and then use your fingers to snap the herl off at the thread. Next, bring the wing case forward, tie it down and trim off the excess. Next, grab a feather from a Hungarian partridge skin and strip away the downy part of the feather. Then brush the fibers down until they stick straight out and measure the feather against the fly. I like to put the stem in about the middle of the bead, and I want the fibers to come back to about the back of the hook bend. Next, grab the feather by the tip with one hand and use the other to brush the fibers back. Then firmly grab the feather in the other hand, and while holding the fibers back, trim the tip of the feather to create your tie-in point. Next, tie in the feather and use your thread to tie down the trim tip. Next, grab the end of the stem with a set of hackle pliers and groom the feather back. Then make your wraps until you are out of hackle barbs. Then, tie off the stem and trim away the extra. From there, flatten out your thread and do a whip finish. And lastly, I apply some Loon UV resin in thin to the thread wraps and cure it with the UV light. And there you have it. Good luck and tight lines.